And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest episode of the Sling'N podcast. I'm TJ.
And I'm Kent.
And joining us tonight, or I should say rejoining us tonight, is Erik Tweedt from Archetype of the Gun. Erik, welcome back.
How's it going, guys?
Man, it's been busy. You know, I missed the show last week. Kent, you did a good job without me. Congrats. You survived. You did not, in fact, need adult supervision as we thought you might have needed.
Listen, we did great. I had a very, very productive conversation with Dave.
You know, I missed the show last week. Kent,
Somebody's browser is not muted.
That's my bad.
It's all good, man. What the fuck? It always happens. Anywho, I had a good conversation with Dave. Apparently, they let people shoot guns in New York. I didn't break the show, TJ. I touched all the buttons without breaking anything. I didn't get us kicked off of Apple or any of those places. So yeah, not bad.
Give it time. It'll happen.
Give it time. Yeah.
Nobody asked if you would like to play a game.
Well, I'm not going to tell you.
I mean, our viewership might have gone up.
Yeah. Well,
just say, I mean, if you're willing to torture somebody slowly with the thought of imminent death if they don't cut out their own eyeball to retrieve the key.
Good Lord.
Well,
we are live.
We've gone there that fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Saw movies. I mean, come on. Huge fan.
T-shirt idea. Sling'N that podcast. We will torture a motherfucker. So there's that.
It works for me.
I was thinking about global thermonuclear war.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, there's about to be a nuclear war if somebody don't make some goddamn ammo. Good Lord. People are hitting me like nobody's business, wanting to, can I buy? No.
No.
But I can use no.
Yeah, folks, word to the wise. Again, we understand that a preponderance of the audience for this show is relatively new gun owners. We appreciate you. We love you all. You keep the chat interesting, but for the love of God, rule of thumb, question of etiquette, do not ask your buddies that reload to sell you the ammunition that they reload. Aside from the fact that it's just kind of shisty, it's unsafe. There's a reason why nobody on this podcast will put a live round that they find on the range in their gun to shoot. It's like, ooh, bullet fairy. No. No.
I knew it. No.
Hey, I'm not as bad as my partner, man. Everything that he shoots in training is evidence ammo.
Oh God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine ammo that's getting turned into evidence was reloaded. So.
Oh, some of it's from World War II. Some of it's from God knows where.
Okay, so
that's one of those whole
with Cosmoline, but
yeah,
9 out of 10 dentists recommend, and you can't count to 10 because this one's been missing for a little bit.
Yeah. Hey, that's 9 out of 10. That's an A in my book, right? So, all right. So before we get into the topics of tonight, folks, of course, it's Thanksgiving week. Side note, we should go around, do what we're thankful for. I think that would be touching, right? But with that being said, folks, Thanksgiving coming up, that means Christmas is right around the corner. Give the turkey his day, damn it. But that means, Black Friday sales, Cyber Monday deals. We would be remiss if we did not mention that we have a litany of affiliates that you can go shop with. So as you're thinking about purchasing those last minute or even early Christmas ideas, depending on when you do your Christmas shopping, consider hitting up greenmountaindefense.com/affiliate-links for that list of affiliates. And you're going to buy gun shit anyway. Why not support your local friendly neighborhood podcasters?
Everybody on my list this year is getting training and not from me. How about that?
There you go.
It's the gift that keeps on giving, Kent.
That's a good Christmas idea. So
Erik.
Yeah.
It's been a hot minute since you've been on the show. So last time you were here, we focused primarily on your firearms training, right? Probably the core offerings from Archetype of the Gun, right? But tonight we're gonna shift gears a little bit. We kind of touched on it the last time you were here, talking about the medical classes and courseware that you offer. But before we get into that, why don't you give everybody and the folks at home and those that might be listening during their commute to work an update? How have things been going for you? How's the business? What's new in life? And what's going on?
Oh man, things are going great. family's good. Can't wait to get out of the city of Chicago, but I'll still keep working here. But man, I could be busier if it wouldn't upset the wife. Where I was here since 6 a.m. this morning at the office. I did 14 hours of training today. So, and that's happening 2-3 days a week. Filling in 2-day classes there. Private lessons are just through the roof. We just can't keep up. So it's not a bad problem to have. So
yeah, amen to that. I am curious about that too, though. With the recent elections, being in Chicago, I think we could fairly label it as not necessarily the friendliest of states when it comes to Second Amendment rights and things that typically align more with the Constitution. But how's your student population been looking? Right? Are you getting a lot more potential liberals or people that align more with the left coming into your class, and what's that experience been like?
So generally, we don't really talk politics during class. I'm not one of those guys. If you don't vote red, I'm not training you gun stuff. And guns are for everybody. As long as you're not a criminal, I'll teach you. But the new gun owners is just absolutely through the roof, and I've had a pretty good mix of them. The right-leaning folks are the ones who keep coming back and coming back and coming back and coming back for more. And don't get me wrong, I have a lot of liberal students that do that too. They're more left-leaning, but at the same time, I'd probably say 20 to 30% of my new students that are left-leaning, don't want to have to own a gun. They're only doing it because they're scared. They take, just enough lessons to not hurt themselves soon. And I don't hear from them again, because they've got what they've wanted to get. They're comfortable having the gun in their home, and it's a gree-gree. It goes in the drawer, and it never comes out.
Yep.
So and they're always welcome back. They're always still welcome to call me for refreshers and all of that. But I'm not going to deny anybody the ability to train. So we've had a good mix.
No, it's good. That's good. But generally, everybody's been positive. Aside from not being return business, right?
Yeah.
That's refreshing to hear, right? Yeah. So, hey, folks, just because people see there's other people out there that just because they disagree with you politically doesn't mean they're all assholes.
Nope.
Just most of them.
I've been called an asshole before, but I try to keep it professional when I'm training.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be. Mark of a good instructor, right? So medical.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, God.
Can I address that question myself real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm getting a lot of folks who thought they disagreed with us politically.
Interesting, especially in Pennsylvania.
Right. Besides the 9,000 dead people that voted in Philly, I had 8,900 of them come to a class. No, just kidding.
Welcome to Chicago.
Yeah, right. Here's what I say at the beginning of most encounters is something to the effect of, I don't care about your politics. I believe the right to protect you and yours is universal.
Yep.
And as such, you might be surprised how many other things we probably agree on. And as such, I get a lot of repeat students who are rocking the Biden-Harris stickers and the whole thing on the rigs, but have seemed to have realized that they agree more with us. And by us, I mean the three of us, not us as in a political party, because one does not encompass all of the viewpoints of the dudes on this podcast. Because if it did, we'd have tanks and machine guns and legal weed and God knows what, private property ownership without taxes and all kinds of other crazy cool stuff.
I've already got the Pretoria flag.
See?
I draw the line at multiple wives.
How many?
I work hard enough to keep one happy.
Right.
I'm not that stupid.
Right. It is It is work. It absolutely is work. But my point being that if you happen to, for whatever reason, catch the sounds of our voices and you happen to think you disagree with us politically, you may find that you don't nearly as much as you think you do. Common sense seems to be universal. And I think all politicians should be tarred and feathered, and we should start over. So, there you go. So, yeah, lots of quote-unquote left-leaning people have come to guns, and I'm hoping that turns into, wait, they want to do what? With what magazines? What assault weapons? Where, when, and how? Maybe not so much anymore, I hope. Now, they could also, they could also go the other way. Baby steps. But, my 15-year plan kind of looks like that. So there. Good anyway, stuff. Back to Erik and his men stuff.
Yeah. No, we're doing at least one, if not two, medical classes a month. Where we just closed out this month on the 7th and 8th with our last 2-day medical course. My last soybean shot for the year. We actually lost about half of our students due to, this was poor planning on my part, having a 2-day firearms class the weekend after the election. So half the coppers that were in class had their days off canceled. So, the guys that showed up got a lot of attention. Right? We actually had 6 people for that class. But I'm on my home range. I can do that.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
So, it happens, but we're still we've stopped offering necessarily free Stop the Bleed classes. We are charging just a little bit of money, but since we started charging free, we're giving you a free cat tourniquet with that now. So you're getting something for your money. So it still is essentially a free class. They're picking up. I'm getting a lot of repeat people on that. So people are finally starting to realize that, hey, you know what? I got a gun for self-defense. I should probably have some medical skills to go with that.
Yeah, medical skills would be a good idea. So let's break down for the folks new to hearing your voice on the show what your med course offerings are.
So we got the standard fare that a lot of people offer. Stop the Bleed, CPR. We offer AHA, American Heart Association, CPR, American Heart Association First Aid, Tactical Emergency Casualty Care, TECC, which is the civilian version of TCCC. Okay, TC3, whatever you want to call it. We offer the TECC for anywhere as small as a 4-hour class for active bystanders or civilian first care providers, whatever you're calling it these days. All the way up to full 2-day classes for those with the duty to act and medical providers. So run the gambit. We roll them into shooting classes and all the medical classes rolled into one as a civilian response to everyday emergencies. We offer them in different flavors.
Very, very cool. What would you say is your throughput between folks who come to a gun class and then folks who come to a med class? How many, average Joe Johnny who signs up for X gun class, do you convert him and get him into med too?
Eventually they do show up. We stress the importance during the gun classes that it's not a one-way street when it comes to guns. So if you're using your gun, there's a likelihood that there is some sort of deadly threat, which means you or a loved one could be injured. You better be able to do something to fix that. So we're getting people that come to the med classes, and I'm only getting a spattering here and there actually showing up to gun courses, which I'm okay with that. But the people that show up to the gun courses, they eventually will find their way into a Stop the Bleed TECC. Then they take another gun course, and then they end up in the So You've Been Shot class, stuff like that.
Very
so
cool.
They kind of see the importance of it.
Interesting that folks come to a med class and not a gun class. That's good.
It takes some prodding, but they come. You know, it's not as sexy on the grams as shooting is, but
yeah. I mean, the other option is to just have people pre-stage a tourniquet on each limb when they show up to a match or a class. Because, good Lord.
Yeah. And sometimes a tourniquet isn't enough, unfortunately, as recently happened. So,
yeah. One thing I will say is that a lot of ranges, a lot of facilities are starting to see an influx of new shooters.
Absolutely.
Right. And with an influx of new shooters comes a responsibility that is incumbent upon all of us to do a better job in the safety or, as Green Mountain Defense would teach, the competency portions, right? Because these people are essentially brand new Toyota Camry owners who've never had driver's ed.
Yep.
Is how you have to look at them, right? And they have every right to have their Toyota Camry just as well as we do. But boy, do they need some help.
Yeah.
And med unfortunately comes along with that. So ranges need to be prepared for increased volume, increased visits, increased classes, increased in all these things. They also need to be prepared for increased potential for incident response.
Mm-hmm. No, we when I started when I got affiliated with this range and my home classroom here, that was one of the very first things I did. Went through their med kits, talked to them about their medical plan, and we're working all the guys through the medical courses, you know, so they at least know what they're doing and can do something in the interim until, you know, if needed, 911 gets there. So it's a process. Yeah, so, but you know, a good range will be receptive to that.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Yep. No, most of the places you see, right, have, first of all, it's the same at every range I'm affiliated with. It's the same group of guys and gals who continuously volunteer year after year to run the place, right? And as such, their ideas have mostly already been bantered about. So if nobody brought up incident response and med stuff yet, chances are nobody's going to. So when we have new blood and new younger people getting involved in places like this, you start to see, hey, what about this? And it's just initially, just at the first outset, met with a touch of resistance, not from the perspective of negativity, but from the perspective of, oh, I think we do enough. Like, well, of course you would, because you've been the same person, and you know, of course you don't have ill intent.
We got a first aid kit.
Right. Hey, we got some stuff in a drawer and some here and some there. And, you know, some more places. The place I just was this evening has had a pretty involved response plan for a little bit as compared to the others. And they've had, you know, staged med kits and you know, ammo cans on every range and, you know, big sign telling people, you know, so at least they've had a plan.
So, one of the ranges that I frequent up here, it's a private range. They only have 200 members. It's a 2-bay, 180 degree shootable place. You show up, you get your own private space. But part of being a membership there is annually you have to show some sort of medical training. They require you to have your own medical training to use their facility. So they'll provide the gear, but you have to go to any number one of the classes that we host there, that we host in the Chicagoland area, but they have to have that certificate and be able to train there.
So out of curiosity, because I think this begs the question, does the training do they have a list of approved vendors for that training, or at least because we want to, of course, make sure that we're avoiding, you know, the racket, right?
Yep.
Oh, you can get the training as long as you get it from us, right?
No. They have trainers that do stuff in house. You know, they have a list of approved courses that you can take in the Chicagoland area. National trainers that, you know, you're allowed to take a course from, whether local or you're on the road and taking a class. No, they let you take from a lot of people as long as it's a vetted course. It's not just some random first aid course or random CPR course, right? They want you to have quality trauma information.
No, that's good stuff. So I'm curious about some of the tools of the trade when you're teaching these classes. So people that pay attention on social media, like people like pages like Skinny Medic or any of these others that are out there, we see a lot of, or at least an increase of, synthetic analogs, right? The block of fleshy, material that has like a gouge in it or a bullet wound or anything like that. Are you using any of that in any of your classes?
Yeah, we use a variety of it. So I use stuff from, oh man, they're going to take away my discount code because I forgot their name. Wound Cube from, I'm drawing a blank on who manufactures it, but the Wound Cube, it's a silicone block that has a large bullet hole, small bullet hole, and a knife wound. I've used stuff from Z Medica before, the fancy trainers, but what I've primarily do is I don't need the fancy stuff to get dry reps in class, and I can't afford to have 20 of those wound trainers, at anywhere from $200 to $400 a pop. So for the basic wound packing and tourniquet application, we just use foam rollers that we have cut and filled and turned into task trainers. However, when we start putting the skills on timers and incorporating the blood and stuff like that, one of the new products that I'm using a Trauma FX mannequin, a full sim mannequin, respirations, eye movement, vital signs, everything, arterial spray, everything. So sucking chest wounds, it's fantastic. So started using that guy this year.
Okay, that's cool.
Are you
yeah.
The company whose name you were drawing a blank on, is it Foku Research?
Yeah, Focus Research.
I looked it up too, and I had to do those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's Focus. Yeah.
Focus
PH with a fat with a PH.
What's that? Drop that discount code on us. What's your discount code? Do you remember it?
So it actually expires at the end of the year. Actually, now I apologize. I can't drop that publicly. It is a trainer only discount code. I can't give that one out to the public. That's for firearms and medical trainers only. So if you guys want some, I can give it to you guys.
Cool.
Just don't share it with the public.
But the company he was plugging is Focus Research with a PHOKUS research.com. That's who he was referring to. Yep. So if you want to get the wound cubes, they've got their Gen 2 wound cube on their website right now for sale. That's what we're referring to.
Yep. They also
I'm just thinking what an awesome ornament that would make on someone's desk in an office environment.
Right.
Covered in dried blood. Yep.
But how many people would you'd be in HR in like 10 minutes. They'd be like, Kent has a weird fleshlight on his desk. And I'd be like, no.
Well, I'm just.
I mean, I open the door. You do not have to walk through it.
I think this is where we just awkwardly stare at each other for a few moments of silence, just reading each other's minds because we know where that line of jokes were going.
Yeah. I mean,
something about emotional maturity or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Right? Oh, and how we lack it. You've been on the show before.
Yeah. Right. What?
So yeah, but no, that Trauma FX mannequin, the Emmett mannequin, is what we've been using. Is outstanding. Everybody's loved it. People keep asking me when I'm gonna pull it out again. It's a pain in the butt. It's a monster. It's 285 pounds of parts and components when all put together. There's a reason why it has wheels and I don't move it. But
wow.
No, it's an outstanding trainer. You can intubate it. You can do needle decompressions. You can do needle crikes on it. You can do CPR on it and have real-time response on the remote that shows you, yeah, they're doing good compressions. Yes, they're doing adequate bleeding control. This is exactly when the bleeding stopped. This is how much fluid volume was lost. It's an amazing trainer. And it comes at the price of a fully loaded F-150.
Holy smokes!
Yeah. So,
my goodness, that's.
But man, it makes a difference. It does make a difference. I mean, you're doing medical care on a breathing and squirting mannequin that has lifelike texture with the skin and vital signs and everything. So it's outstanding.
So at what level of class would you expect to see something like that? Is that something that you might see in a simple stop the bleed for properly equipped trainers? Or is that something you really got to spend the money for and do like the level 1 or level 2 stuff?
No, you're not gonna, unless that person is independently wealthy, you're not gonna find that in a stop the bleed class ever. Unless it's a hospital that has it to do Con Ed for their trauma surgeons and stuff like that, and their trauma teams, whatever. That is something I try to schedule around when I have it. So I'll do closed enrollment courses for certain groups. I'll do an open enrollment group, and then I'll throw in a TECC and a stop the bleed class so they can all get it there. So I'll have it for stop the bleed classes, but only a couple times a year for the stop the bleed. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm having that thing 3 or 4 times a year right now. Is the plan, is the current schedule. So.
So you're doing like a little like a vacation timeshare thing with the.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
that's a good idea.
I'm an associate trainer for TACMed Solutions. Okay. And that is one of the programs that they have available to their trainers.
Really cool. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. The guys at TACMed Solutions have put a lot of work into that program to make sure that we have that and we can get it pretty much whenever we want. And it is an outstanding tool.
That's really cool. I'm just kind of picturing like a mannequin with a 2-inch trailer hitch ball on it. And you're just like pulling this mannequin from Ohio to wherever else.
It fills up half of my truck bed.
Holy smokes.
On my 1500. So yeah, it fills up half my truck bed.
Yeah, I can't imagine something like that would disassemble very easily.
It's awkward, but once you get it together, it's pretty straightforward. It's just H bars and kind of like QD hooks, on your rifle, similar type of pin, except for it's yay long.
Gotcha.
And you have to remove parts of flesh to do it. It's interesting to watch happen.
Wow.
So
when the mannequin in the truck is worth as much as the truck.
Yeah.
Hashtag gun trainer.
Right. So I actually made an Instagram post. I was packing up for the day, finishing a class here at the shop. And between my loaner guns, the mannequins, and all the other medical supplies and all that stuff, I had $100,000 in the bed of that pickup truck.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Instagram deleted the post because this mannequin is anatomically correct and I didn't blur out the genitals.
Oh my goodness.
Everybody wants to do instructor shit until you got a pickup bed
do
truck
instructor shit.
$100,000 worth of gear in it.
I can't say I've ever hit 100K, but I know I've been in the 40s and 50s.
Oh, easy.
I know that for damn sure.
It adds up
50 of that's probably the body.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if that's an accurate price, but $50,000 will get you a body.
I can get a body for cheaper than what this mannequin costs. Now that mannequin for the Emmett version of it, and we're not talking about the animatronic one that you can move and talk through and all that stuff. This thing's $60,000.
Wait. They have a Bernstein Bear med?
Yep.
Oh, honey, Christmas.
I think you meant Teddy Ruxpin. But
Teddy Ruxpin, yeah. Chuck E. Cheese, whatever you want to call it.
Aren't the Bernstein Bears the ones with the animatronic bears with the banjos and shit?
No. That was I forget what they're called, but didn't they have those guys at
Hershey Park and
yeah. Well, they do have animatronics, like it's like the Hall of Presidents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
I like it. So
except for not as creepy.
Not as creepy. So the Stop the Bleed that you're offering is, you said it's now you're charging a nominal fee, but they're getting tourniquets and stuff like that.
Yep.
Kind of a follow-on question to what's the crossover between gun and med? How many people start at the very base of Stop the Bleed and graduate their way through other med courses? Do you get a lot of that?
Actually, we do. We kind of get the hooks in them with Stop the Bleed, and they're like, hey, listen, there's going to be a little bit of review when you get to TECC, but a little bit of review for a new topic is never a bad idea. And we also go significantly more into depth with TECC versus Stop the Bleed. Now, I'm probably not supposed to say this, but I go a little bit beyond Stop the Bleed. Stop Bleed is generally designed to be about an hour-long course. I still have yet to complete 1 and 2 hours. So we generally bill it as a 2 to 4 hour class, depending on audience participation.
Right.
So I won't give away all of TECC, but I will give you more than what Stop the Bleed does.
That's kind of the equivalent to certain NRA training counselors I know who do a way better job than the NRA does. Or,
the head of cabbage does a better job than the NRA does.
Easy. Yes, you're right.
They've gotten better. They've gotten better.
Not
all their instructors have, but they've gotten better.
Fair.
Certain CCW instructors who hold their students to the higher levels of standard than what the state minimum is. Okay, fine. I'll just fucking say it. Tim Kelly is who I'm thinking of in both cases, right? And he holds his CCW students to higher standards than normal, and he does more in his NRA TC stuff than the average person does. More in a good way.
And Tim and I have actually had this conversation, while we were jamming mags at the Handgun Combatives Instructor Cert. He and I both got the same attitude when it comes to CCW. It's the only class a lot of people are going to take, so we owe it to ourselves and everybody around us to make sure these people have the best class that they can do. The very first thing that I do when I step on the range with these people is I have them shoot the qualification for Illinois. That's how much of a joke our qualification is.
Right.
And I haven't had anybody fail.
Right.
And by the end of my CCW class, they're shooting back at 15 yards on a chest cavity center. And they're getting good hits. And then we start doing target transitions and stuff like that. So we everything we do is from the holster. Everything we do is from the holster, because if I'm going to tell you that you can carry a gun out in public, you better know how to use a holster.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I just the closest thing that I teach to that is I call handgun fundamentals, because there's no CCW requirement in PA. So there's no PA CCW class for me to teach. And people are amazed that they do as much shooting as they do. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, homie, we can get through 4 hours of classroom content in 4 hours. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Working lunch, and now let's get to the range. So I don't understand it. Any hooser. So you're getting people that graduate up, I'm going to call it. So they're starting at the base level of the Stop the Bleed, and then they're moving on. I'm sorry, I'm getting a bad echo from somebody.
I don't hear it.
Well, I don't hear it either.
Oh, that's weird.
I thought I just heard it, but
nothing.
That's really weird.
Tell Sophie to turn the show down.
No, that's
the fun part. It's funny because she doesn't watch.
Is that not the truth or what? Anyway, so as they graduate on up, what percentage of the folks that you get to the end of that curriculum, wherever they end, because I know my numbers for handgun stuff. How many of them do you think are actually carrying med gear and actually putting any of this into practice?
Actually, I'm going to say a lot.
Good,
because I bring out 2 or 3 Pelican cases full of med gear at the end of each class. Be like, listen, you guys are not obligated in any stretch of the imagination, but everything that we've used today, you can purchase.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They get a discount on all the products based on, that is their alumni discount, from taking any class with me. And a lot of people, and frequently, man, I got to place an order immediately after class is over. I don't think I've had a single class that didn't have at least half the class purchase med gear. So people are taking it to heart.
No, I think that's an important step because you're removing a critical or a key excuse for not carrying the medical equipment, right? So you pay the money, you go through the class, you digest the information, great. Now I went through all that crap while it's still stewing around in my brain bucket. Now I have to take the initiative to go find a reputable website to order this stuff from.
Yep. No excuse. It's right there.
Yep. Right. Here's everything we used. Legit. Everything that I just taught you how to use.
Yep. And we go through it, and I make sure that if they want to see my resale agreements with TACMed Solutions and North American Rescue, and listen, I'm not selling you guys junk. This isn't, Chinesium squared, right? Mm-hmm. You're getting legitimate medical products. So now I won't sell needle decompression needles to people, but
no, that's a bad idea.
Yeah, it is. So
why is that? I'm curious.
So in the majority of states, you're to be covered under the Good Samaritan laws.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're limited to just basic procedures, and without some sort of license and operating correctly under that license, you can't do anything invasive. And a needle chest decompression is an invasive procedure, and if done wrong, can result in some serious damage, if not death.
Gotcha. Okay, no, I think that makes perfect sense.
Okay, so
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, the only people that I teach needle decompressions to are medical providers and those law enforcement members who generally are on SWAT teams who have a project medical director, and they're working under a set of SMOs, SOPs.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that's a fair state. Yeah. Honestly, I didn't even know that. You learn something new every day. I've heard certainly about Good Samaritan laws, but
there's medical dealers out there selling needle decompression needles. Well, needle decompression needles in their med kits, and it ain't funny. Especially since, number one, the stuff they're selling is garbage. Number two, the shit that they're selling is legitimately just a friggin' needle. Yeah, it's dangerous. I'm surprised they haven't been sued over it.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's terrible.
I won't teach you anything or sell you anything that'll land you in jail. Or, end up with you taking somebody's life inadvertently.
So. Yeah. I mean, you got to know I think you have to know in all things, you have to know your limitations to a certain degree.
Yep.
And
absolutely. It's not just firearm related.
No, of course. Well, I mean, my God, imagine thinking so perfect example. My cousin and I are doing a brake job on my truck, right? Mm-hmm. I can do a brake job on my truck. I cannot rebuild my transmission. I need to know where to stop.
Yep.
Right? You have some level of skill. That's great. Apply those skills accordingly. Use the right tools. As it turns out, I picked the right week to do so because we got halfway through it and opened the box and realized we didn't have the right part. And now the truck's got to sit until the company, you get where I'm going.
Yep.
Point being,
that always happens.
Point being, not too many terrible stakes, right? The worst thing I'm going to do is screw up a brake job and have to restart. I'm not going to go trying to freaking. I wouldn't try to trach anybody. I'm not going to try to use a chest decomp. I'm not. I have my skill set. I know what it is, and I'm going to stay within it.
Yep. Hey, you'll be surprised at how many people contact me wanting to learn that stuff, and when I ask them for their EMS system or their project medical director's name and a copy of their SOPs, you never hear from them again.
Right. This is literally no different than a gun student emailing and saying that they want to go straight to force on force or straight to room clearing or straight to ninja cheetah flips out of a helicopter or some shit.
I need the tactical training.
I need that cool. I got the basics covered. All right, Kent. Like, listen, I got the basics covered. I need more advanced training. Okay. Good. Let me give you a name and an email address of somebody who can help you with that.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, man, because we're all the hero of our own story, and as such, we're gonna run in with the cool guy shit and save the day. Apparently,
yeah. I got no problem if I get a bad vibe from somebody. Listen, I can't help you, man. What you're asking is not something you should be attempting, and whether it's medical or firearm skills, man, I want to bring my full auto class. No. Are you law enforcement? No. Have a nice day. You have now been blacklisted. All right. I'm not messing with that stuff. Right. Now, I'm not saying we don't have full autos of class. Right. Pays to have friends who have the fun toys. It's like going.
Oh, so good question in the chat.
Yep. Just saw it.
MG is it? Oh, you saw it. Good. MG's admitting his ignorance here, which I'm not surprised. Right? He doesn't know what a decomp needle is.
Right. NCD, needle chest decompression. Right. When somebody gets a sucking chest wound and we've treated it with a chest seal, or hell, even without a penetrating chest trauma, you can get a pneumothorax, a spontaneous pneumothorax, or a tension pneumothorax, which is air inside of your chest cavity that shouldn't be there, outside of the lungs. When you get air inside of your chest cavity, it compresses your lungs, and your lungs aren't able to inflate, which means you're not able to circulate. You're not able to oxygenate the blood that is circulating through your body, and eventually you're going to get all sorts of problems from that, up to and including death. And what we do to alleviate that is we fix the pressure. Okay.
Tap the keg.
Yeah. Tap. Well, kinda, right? So lack of a better way to say it, you work on a negative pressure system, right? You open your mouth, you automatically suck air in, okay? And we have atmospheric pressure out around us pushing on us. When we poke a hole in that and those pressures equalize, our lungs can no longer inflate because pressures are equalized. So what we do is we seal that hole and we put a smaller hole in to control the airflow to allow your lungs to reinflate.
Yeah, there's a really good, and granted, it's Hollywood, so accuracy may vary, but I think probably the best Hollywood representation of that I saw was in a movie called, I want to say it's called Three Kings. It's got George Clooney and Mark Wahlberg in it.
Yep, that actually is a decent representation for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg's character ends up with a collapsed lung from it. They have to use a decompression needle that he has to run around with through the latter half of the movie with. So
now we generally don't put stopcocks on them anymore that let you crank them, but there's all sorts of variants. But the new needle from North American Rescue, the Spear, is quite nice. It is a monster.
What you're saying is because I'm a negative pressure system, I should, in theory, be able to poke a hole anywhere I want to, and it should work, right? Right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Wait.
For legal reasons, that was a joke.
You mean I need to know what the fuck I'm doing and where to put the needle?
I mean, I'm responsible for the actions that I take.
Holy smokes!
Oh my!
This
Lord.
sounds like medical knowledge that might be held by a professional.
Just a little bit.
Yeah,
anyway,
but no, I mean,
yeah.
Eric, you brought up a great point. I think this is something that I don't think a lot of people are aware of with respect to the Good Samaritan laws. I mean, sure, you've got the knowledge, you've got the skill set, right? Okay, fine. SOPs, all that stuff, great. Many of us, and I'd be willing to bet that the vast majority of the people that listen to our show and watch this show would probably be subject to Good Samaritan laws, right? So if that is the case, even with that knowledge, the fact that Good Samaritan laws might draw the line at invasive procedures up to and including chest decompression needles, it's sorry, even if I've got one, sorry, it's probably going to be for me only.
Well, now, granted, I do carry a needle chest decompression setup. Okay. That is for myself, my wife, and my children. As a licensed medical professional, I have the tools and training to accomplish that. That being said, I will likely lose my license for doing that. Okay. I will likely have my medical, my EMS licenses revoked for operating outside of my scope of practice. Okay. So, I am willing to lose my medical license to save the life of a loved one. That is not for the general public. I'm sorry. You're getting a chest seal, and I will do everything in my power to prevent you from getting a pneumothorax or tension pneumothorax and do what I can to fix it in a non-invasive manner. Okay. But when it comes to my wife and my children, yeah. Now, it is... generally, a lot of places will draw a line between negligent and willfully negligent. Okay, and no, that is not something that you can. And yes, MG, that is something most civilians would be doing it for their family members, right? However, you can learn the basic principles of that in a class. Are you proficient at it enough to complete it on demand when you're under duress and staring at your loved one? Absolutely not. That is something that we actually practice on a regular basis in the medical field. And I am fortunate to have worked on the south side of Chicago and the west side of Chicago, where it was not uncommon to do 3 to 5 needle decompressions a week. All right. I know EMS providers that haven't done a needle chest decompression in a 20-year career. Okay. So even if you take a 1-day or a 2-day class on it, that is not something that you will be able to perform correctly. It's not worth the risk. In the majority of us live in some sort of metropolitan areas. And even when you live out in the boonies, like where I grew up in the sticks. Now, it wasn't that far out there, but, for the longest time, we could only see one of our neighbors from our front lawn. So it was far enough out. It wasn't uncommon for EMS to take 20 minutes or longer to get there. You can accomplish everything you need to do for penetrating chest trauma with a vented chest seal. Okay. By the time it starts to get worse, okay, or that chest seal stops working, EMS professionals will be on scene to perform that needle decompression for you. That is absolutely not something you should risk, even if you have taken a 1-day class on it.
So if I could make an analogy, this is the 1-second appendix draw being put to the test in force on force. All right. Just because you can do it on the square range in training, maybe sometimes, does not mean that you're proficient enough to do it for reals. Yes, inoculation to stress matters. Yes. And you put your life and your effort and your time and your training into getting good at this stuff. But I'll tell you what, I'd feel pretty poor about trying to help save somebody's life medically and instead jacking it up and making it worse.
We're talking about millimeters of difference of distance the wrong way, and you can kill someone.
Right.
millimeters of distance the wrong way, and you can kill somebody. So
I can't even count to 10, and you want me to know what a millimeter is?
Yeah.
That's like that far, right?
Yep. Right.
Nobody can see on podcast.
I thought we weren't bringing that joke up again.
Oh yeah, that one. Yes, that one. For those of you on audio, I just took my thumb and my forefinger and made them very close together and then a little further apart. Anywho, take from that what you will. The point being, look, don't fool around, do stuff you don't know how to do. How do you feel about folks carrying the needle because somebody who knows how to use it might need it and it might not be there otherwise?
Anybody that knows how to do it will be a licensed medical professional. Okay. And they generally will not be willing to risk their professional licenses and their livelihood and their family's well-being to operate outside of their scope of practice. Okay. Yeah, I can put in a chest tube. Okay. But even though I know how to do that, and maybe somebody pulls a chest tube kit out of their car, I'm not going to stick a chest tube in there until the appropriate level of response has arrived on scene. For medical professionals, you are operating at the lowest common denominator until the next higher service level arrives on scene. So if I'm a critical paramedic, flight paramedic, and I have all those skills and training, if there isn't a critical care or flight unit on scene, I am operating at the lowest level until the next step above arrives. So I'm operating at a first responder or EMTB level until an ALS unit shows up. I'm operating at an ALS level until a critical care unit or a helicopter shows up. And guess what? Once they're on scene, I can assist them with whatever they need to make their jobs go smoother, but they are the ones performing all the tasks. I'm just doing what I can to make their lives easier.
Gotcha.
Makes sense. The dogs agree.
Yeah,
yes, they do.
So we are getting a question here in the chat from Bullet Sponge. What's the average time span for a tension pneumothorax?
It depends. It depends. So not every pneumothorax will develop into a tension pneumothorax. Okay. It all really depends on, how bad the injury is, all sorts of things. It can be minutes, it can be tens of minutes, right? There is no exactly at 5 minutes you will develop a tension pneumothorax. No. We generally go based off signs and symptoms out in the field. It doesn't matter. It's right. One of the guys popped in and was saying hi to the dogs, and the dogs were fighting over their attention. But with a tension pneumothorax, there is no hard set fast number. It's whenever the signs and symptoms arrive. Okay, so if you got a hole in your chest and you have a pneumothorax, air in the chest, it doesn't become a tension pneumothorax until you have some sort of signs and symptoms or physical change that turns it into a pneumo. So yeah, Bullet Sponge, I got that too. The difference between a pneumothorax and a tension pneumothorax is there is tension or increased pressure being put on your heart and your trachea, and you're going to end up with tracheal deviation towards the unaffected side. You're going to get jugular vein distension, worsening shortness of breath. You're going to get cardiac dysrhythmias and all sorts of things, up to including cardiac and respiratory arrest. Okay. The difference is very, very plain. Sometimes we make good decisions with medical terminology. With a pneumothorax, there isn't tension, and with a tension pneumothorax, it is applying pressure or tension to the body systems.
And people say we don't have quality educational information on this show.
I was just going to say, man, I feel like Joe Rogan right now, and I have like Neil deGrasse Tyson on. and I'm just over here like, yeah, so working out's cool. Like, I don't know.
Right.
Thank God we have smart people.
And what, the trick is trying to use terminology that non-medical professionals will understand.
Right. Because big words and all.
Right. So not everybody knows Latin.
So we've mentioned your. We've kind of not intentionally skirted around them, but you've brought up your licenses or your credentials a couple of times. So can you give us that a level set on what those, people most laymen's are like, well, there's firefighters, there's EMTs, there's paramedics, and there's nurses, then doctors, and the whole gamut of skill sets in between them kind of becomes lost on the layman.
All right,
so help me with that.
Easy peasy. So, the base level, the lowest level, is going to be some sort of first responder. Whether or not they hold a some sort of professional medical license or they have just basic training. Those are going to be those people that have stop the bleed training and AED training, maybe CPR training. Okay. Once you get past your first responder, you get into EMTBs or EMT basics. Okay. And we're talking pre-hospital side right now. EMT basics or EMTs, emergency medical technician, are the base level of EMS professionals, emergency medical services. It takes about 6 months to get that license. And, it is, and not to poo-poo on it, a lot of times, you find a good EMT and you latch onto them because a good EMT is worth their weight in gold. Most of the times they know just enough to get themselves in trouble. Okay. The smart ones realize that, right? Boy, that's a similar theme. So those are the people that are that first step of care. After that, we've kind of gotten rid of the intermediate levels pretty much everywhere in the country now. And once you go from EMT basic, you go up to EMT-P or EMT paramedic, also just referred to as paramedics. Okay, paramedic is that ALS level of care, advanced life support. EMTBs operate at a BLS level, basic life support. Okay, CPR, basic medications, AEDs. Right. When you get to the paramedic level, you're dealing with a whole slew of drugs, drug calculations, IVs, intubations, crikes, needle decompressions, cardiac monitors, all sorts of pacing and cardio, all sorts of stuff, right? Within the EMTB and the paramedics spectrum, you're going to have firefighters that are both. Some firefighters are just EMTBs. Some paramedics are paramedics. Most departments have gone to requiring a paramedic level licensure for all their firefighters. That way they can say that they are an ALS service level department, which means there's at least one paramedic on each apparatus or out of each house. Okay. Maintaining the EMS side, paramedics are the people that you see rolling around on fire department ambulances and private ambulance and working as technicians or paramedics in the ER. A step above paramedic would be your critical care or your flight paramedics. Those are the people who have an expanded scope of practice when it comes to drugs, chest tubes, blood products, depending on what region they're in. And not just advanced EMS skills, but then we get into and I can run a balloon pump by myself, ventilators, auto transfusers, all sorts of things. All right. I am a very self-sufficient individual. And EMS providers all work off a set of SOPs and SMOs, standard operating procedures and standing medical orders, which means as long as it falls within my scope of practice, I don't need to have medical permission to do it. I can just do what needs to be done. The difference between EMS professionals and nursing professionals is for most skills, nurses require a physician's order to do it at that time. Okay. I have a set of standing medical orders. As long as I meet these requirements, X, Y, and Z, I can perform task X, Y, and Z. Okay. On the hospital side, you have CNAs and LPNs, certified nursing assistants, and licensed practicing nurses. They are the essentially the EMTBs of the nursing world. After that, you have your RN, registered nurse, which is generally a 2-year degree. And then you have your BSN, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. They are the 4-year graduates. RN is essentially, in a lot of aspects, similar to a paramedic. You got your advanced life support skills depending on where they are operating at, what unit they're on. Then you have all sorts of specialty nurses with, TNS and all sorts of this stuff, trauma nurse specialist and all these things. ICU nurses and the quality ER nurses are kind of like at the same level as that critical care or flight paramedic. The difference is I can do more skills than that ICU nurse can, and I can do them without a doctor's order. Okay.
So you're a flight level paramedic.
I hold my critical care license. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which means I can hop on a. Now I've held every position in EMS, training, teaching, every level of service provider. The difference between a critical care paramedic and a flight paramedic is the same education. It's just one's on a helicopter, one's on the ground.
Okay. So you're the version.
Yep.
Got it.
I don't hop in the whirlybird. Okay.
Cool.
Not on a regular basis anyway. So
yeah,
I opted a different route that was that actually landed to me ending my EMS career. Unfortunately, but
well, so you just answered 5 dudes' questions in a row, which was really awesome.
And just rambling it off real fast, right?
No. You did really well with that, because that's something that for the public at large, right? They see the red and blues and the ambers and the whatevers and the people that show up. They just
I called the fire department. I didn't call an ambulance.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I may have heard that a few times in my life.
Right. They don't know who's coming.
Yep.
Right. To any level of emergency or any whatever else, all you see is the woo 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 and the siren and the thing, and the people show up, and nobody the hell knows who's who.
You hit 3 buttons and you got the wee woo.
The wee woo wagon.
That's right.
John Correa said wee woo wagon the other day somewhere on the freaking interwebs on Facebook. And now I've stolen it. I told him I was going to steal it. Now I done stole the thing.
Oh man, we got so many dirty names for each other. It's not even funny. Not me and John, EMS professionals.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting to note that level of response, and it's got me thinking about okay, I wonder if my fire department is a full ALS level fire department or not. I don't know the answer to that question.
A lot. Are they volunteer or are they staffed?
Staffed.
Okay, so they're probably ALS. At least during normal business hours. Some people are, ALS during the day and BLS overnight, depending on staffing levels. It gets weird when you get into certain areas of the region.
Sure. I mean, in Vermont where I lived, we had a moose with a bag. They just sent it to your house, and there were little instructions on what to do for yourself.
Yep.
So,
in case of X.
Right.
Open the red pouch.
Like the St. Bernard with the barrel of whiskey, but it was a med bag moose, and he just showed up, and it was the whole thing. So that was that was a really good comparison, because most people have paid more attention, I would say, in a hospital setting. Most people have been with grandma or been with mom or been with dad, or and you sit there and you strike up the conversation with the people that are working on your loved one. You say, "Oh, so what? What's your role here?" And they say, "Oh, I'm an RN, or I'm an RNA, or I'm a, whatever an LPN," and they give you a brief little thing of that, and you kind of, walk up the chain. I would say that like this is kind of the every jacuzzi's a hot tub, but not every hot tub's a jacuzzi kind of thing. Every single time somebody talks about EMS providers from an ambulance perspective, they all say paramedic or EMT.
Yep,
that's all they'll ever say.
Ambulance driver.
Yeah, ambulance. Right.
That's usually because it's like when people ask me what I do professionally. I'm an IT guy. Because if I start getting down the rabbit hole of what I specifically do, one, it's going to result in a lot of giggling, and two, it's too complicated to get into.
So you remove porn malware from people's computer, correct?
Yeah, that's part of it. Maybe I leave it behind. I don't know. I'm a man of mystery, Eric. That's the way I roll.
So let me see what other questions do I have? Oh, another good one for you. What if you had any? What advice would you give to the aspiring young service provider, medical professional guy, the 18 to 24-year-old who says, someday I'm gonna get me on a fire truck or an ambulance or a bambulance. Bambulance is the technical term, right?
That is correct.
Perfect.
The boo-boo bus.
Yeah, that thing.
Number one, the very first. I kind of wish that they partially told me this when I was starting it, but of course I didn't listen, and I didn't know to the extent of how true this was. But if you're looking at a career in EMS, go into nursing. EMTs and paramedics make a very little amount of money unless you get onto a major metropolitan department. I am technically disabled at the age of 34. I am 39 now. I've been off since 2014. Okay. I am on a whole slew of medications that allow me to operate at about 80% function level without ending up contracted and in excruciating pain. EMS beats the hell out of you, even if you are incredibly athletic. Most paramedics end up crippled in some fashion. So my first response is are you sure you want to do this, son? Maybe you should try nursing, where you get to work in a heated and air-conditioned environment and make $100,000 a year without doing overtime. Okay. That being said, it is one of the most rewarding professions I have ever held, and I honestly wouldn't change a thing. Okay.
I mean, that kind of explains a lot. You really don't see a whole lot of old EMT guys and gals.
Yep. Yeah. Man, I can't even count how many friends that I've had retire from the job and they're dead 6 months later. Okay.
Yes.
It takes a toll on your body, physically, mentally, emotionally. It is a hard thing. Man, I and this comes up in the TECC courses when we're getting into this, and it still messes with you. Okay, there's shit that people ask questions about that will still bring me to tears. Okay, and people aren't ready for that. They don't get the aspect that you're going to be making decisions on who lives or dies, and it may be a kid. Okay, it may be your neighbor. Okay, so it is one of the most demanding jobs I've ever had, and it is also one of the most rewarding. So, the nice thing is, if you go into nursing, you can still play on the boo-boo bus.
The boo-boo bus.
So, if you want that adrenaline dump, and you want those endorphins, you want to, turn on the flashing lights and drive that BRT, big red truck.
I was thinking be right there.
I was about to ask because I started to get in the glassy eye look on you, but thank you for cutting me off at the pass.
When I start, so that's something that I picked up down south. when I was working EMS down south. And when I started using my buddy and I, who came from down south, started using that phrase up north, my partners were looking at me, what the hell did you just say? Yeah, just look for the BRT. The big red truck. It always got an audible sigh. But stick it out. All right. Get your paramedic level. Always strive to be better. Don't just stop at the minimum. You're going to be there at the worst time in a lot of people's lives. And sometimes you get to make a difference. Okay. So you owe it to those people to be the absolute best you can be. Plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, this is not something you go into because it's a profession. Okay. You go into this because it is a passion and a calling. Okay. Now, granted, there's plenty of people who do go into it just because, hey, it's a job. But trust me, those practitioners weed themselves out and are self-evident to their coworkers. It's kind of like cops always know who's working in their district, and they know who's going to be holding the perimeter, and they know who they're going to tap on the shoulder, say, all right, let's go in. Yeah. Firefighters and EMS professionals have the same thing. Okay. If you're going to do it, you owe it to yourself and everybody you come in contact with to be the absolute best you can be. Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting. Some of my friends who are in law enforcement say something very similar, which is the whole, most of the people who we interact with professionally, them saying I'm not law enforcement, but they'll say, hey, that's the worst day in that dude or that girl's life. Like, they're not calling you because they're having a good day. Nobody calls the fire truck. Nobody calls the paramedics. Nobody calls EMS. Nobody calls cops just to say, hey, I just wanted to tell you guys that today was fucking awesome. All right, have a good one. Like, it never, very, very rarely anyway, goes like that. Mm-hmm. Our local department does this coffee with a cop thing that, it's kind of cool, where you can show up and have a cup of coffee with them and, talk to them about that traffic light that's only 2 seconds instead of 3 or whatever, just to bust balls. But,
Man, I get a ticket every time I try to go through this.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Why are you always pulling me over?
Listen here.
Well, maybe if you weren't an asshole.
you imagine, like, being the Starbucks person. And that, by the way, they go to coffee with a cop and they go to Starbucks because reasons. But you just know that there's a Starbucks barista in there that's like,
because you like shitty coffee.
Right. They're like, this is like the Super Troopers. Mm-hmm. It's for a cop. It's for a cop. Why'd you tell him it's for a cop?
Yeah, why'd you say it's for a cop?
Yeah, that whole thing.
He's gonna spit in it, isn't he?
He's gonna spit in it. I just know he is. I want a goddamn liter of cola. We don't have a liter of cola.
Does that look like spit to you?
Yeah. So the young guy or gal who wants to get into EMS, you say get into nursing, so that's cool. How much of the education and schooling translates? Like,
nurses generally will go into a specialty, and you kind of split them up into these two categories. You either know a whole lot about a very little spectrum, or you know a whole little about a whole lot of things. Okay. It is a specialty versus a jack of all trades. All right. EMS is that jack of all trades. All right. We know a whole little about a whole lot of things. We know just enough to get ourselves into trouble. And sometimes if you're a good medic, get yourself out of trouble. Okay. Nurses know a whole lot about a more narrow spectrum, except for ER nurses. ER nurses are kind of a jack of all trades too. At least the good ones are, right? But we've all met those bad nurses that are just there to punch a clock. So that's kind of the difference, right? You get those good EMS professionals that like to get nerdy on it, like to nerd out on all those details and further the education. So they have those answers when they pop up. And then you have those people that do just bare minimum, just like with every profession, so. I kind of forgot where we were going with that question, but that's the answer I came up with.
My point was more like, so if a guy started, let's say a guy started down the rabbit hole and decided he wanted to switch to nursing, how much of his schooling does he have to flippity flop?
So there's a couple different options, right? Your skills are not for naught. Some of the best nurses that I have ever worked with were paramedics before they were nurses. They were just smart enough to get out of it, right? College credit wise, it doesn't match up. So if you want to go to the traditional route and switch from EMS to nursing school, you essentially have to start over from scratch. It's going to be an easier transition for you, and you're not going to have to work as hard, but you essentially have to start over from scratch. Okay. If I wanted to go to, even though that I function at a higher level as a critical care paramedic than most nurses, I would have to start over as a CNA. I would have to learn how to wipe asses and change bed sheets and empty bedpans. Even though I already know how to do that, I would have to start over. They do have bridge programs where you take additional credits. The problem with those bridge programs from EMS to nursing is they're not all created equal, and they're not always recognized in every state. So Illinois doesn't recognize RNs from bridge programs. If I wanted to work as an RN after completing a bridge program, I would have to drive across the border to Wisconsin, where they recognize that, work for a period of time as a nurse licensed in Wisconsin, and then apply for reciprocity back here in Illinois before I could start working here in Illinois again. Yeah, it's kind of a cluster, right? Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So
my common sense housing unit just overloaded.
Yeah, so you're telling me that I can have a patient on 14 different drips, on a ventilator, and a balloon pump, all by myself in the back of an ambulance. But I got to go learn how to wipe an ass and empty bedpans before I can.
Yeah.
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 So we should.
Bureaucracy exists at all levels, man. It's just.
We should fix that. So, well, man, I got to tell you what. You're going to have to come back on the show a third and a fourth and an 11th time because you done bloat my mind again. I always appreciate it when that happens.
I always willing to come back. I like hanging out with you guys.
Like the learning of new things. One of the things were you episode like 8 or?
I was pretty early on.
You were early on. So there's a couple things that we've been doing at the end of the show that we wasn't doing when we was doing it with you. So you get to go back through this now that you're an alum and you're coming back for part 2. Okay. So hit me with some stuff from your recommended reading list. What should people be reading?
Oh, all right. And I kind of knew this was coming. I do pay attention to you guys. When it comes to the self-defense stuff, Varg Freeborn's book, Violence of Mind.
Love that book.
Hands down. Outstanding book. Yeah. I've actually just read it a second time. It is a fantastic book. For those new shooters getting into guns prior to taking your first training class or trying to decide what to do or how you're going to proceed, Tom Given's new book, Concealed Carry, is a great book. If you can find his old book, Fighting Smarter, Fighting Smarter, that's an excellent book as well. Dave Spalding's book, Handgun Combatives, is an excellent primer on what to start expecting and what to start doing, not just for new shooters, but for experienced shooters as well. those are great options. John Farnham's book, The Farnham Method of Defensive Handgunning. Sorry, my library is over here. Those are all excellent places to start. I'm reading a lot of instructor development stuff nowadays. Okay. Those budding instructors out there, an excellent book for you guys to jump into is Mike Sealander's The Art of Instruction.
Yep.
Right. And then I just read nerdy shit sometimes. I read government papers and peer research stuff and all that stuff. That's just me nerding out.
What's the book that Talent Code?
Yep, Talent Code. Yep, that is an excellent book on myelination in the learning process.
Yep. Okay,
that is an excellent book if you like to get into nerdy things, because, well, words mean things and processes mean things. Perfect purposeful repetition is something that I've always preached from when I was yay tall doing music. Right? I mean, that's how I learned to play piano. Right? Work out this section, and then add the next section, and you're working in layers. Perfect repetition of that difficult area will allow you to perform it better and stack it all together, chunking learning in the end. So
really cool. I can play chopsticks, by the way.
Oh, shoot. I got a whole bunch of gold cups from piano, but I don't know if I can still play much.
I just
I can spell piano.
Are you a pianist?
I don't know. No, I'm not.
I have a funny.
I have like a 45-second diversion funny story on piano. So on a ski trip, sophomore year in high school, my mother was the ski club advisor. She was looking for restaurants, wanted Italian, and she thought it'd be cool to go to a place called Piano's because she thought it was Italian. It turns out it was a fucking piano store. So we had a bus full of high school kids go tumble-wumbling into this piano store, looking around going, where's the garlic bread? Yeah.
Where are my cheese sticks?
That absolutely happened. All right, so question number 2, sir, if you would, pick a charity.
Man, the one that I am most familiar with, that I actually do participate in and help out with annually, would be Rachel's Rest. They are, Brian and Shelley Hill from The Complete Combatant. They do the mingle every year, and I'm one of the sponsors for that. They do a lot of good work with Rachel's Rest.
So Brian had already mentioned them, I think, on his episode.
Okay.
So what the hell? Rachel's Rest gets some more T-shirt proceeds, so that's cool. Always like to, now we got the same charity coming up twice. That's pretty cool.
Well, or how about John Correa's one that he's doing with the
unfamiliar.
Oh God, what is he doing it with? He does it for foster kids, I believe it's foster kids. He has a annual training seminar.
Is it Guns for Orphans?
I think so.
Because if it's Guns for Orphans, I'm all
something like that, right?
Okay.
At-risk teens, at-risk youth. They all of the instructors donate their time and stuff. So that's another good one.
I'm looking at. We need to have the name before.
What is it?
I think we're going with Rachel's Rest. We'll give Mr. Korea's charity its due on the next episode. We'll backfeed that for somebody because I can't find its name to plug it right now.
Yeah, we'll let's reach out to him and see if we can find out more about it. If anything, we can at least give him some airtime on the show.
Yeah. There you go. So cool. Rachel's Rest is the charity of choice again, which means that the proceeds for the next week and change will go to them from our T-shirt sales and all of our Teespring merch and all that kind of stuff. And of course, we'll put links in the description below. Don't feel as though you need to buy something from us to donate to them. We're doing a straight up pass through, but if you want to just go donate to Rachel's Rest, please do that as well. Erik, man, 2 in a row. You hit it out of the park twice. You're really helpful, really informative. Thank you for
gentlemen.
explaining all the acronyms.
I remember from last time.
Oh God.
I may be slow, but I get there.
Appreciate you giving us all that great clinic on how to use a decomp needle and why everybody should buy one and put it in the glove box of their F250. That sounded awesome. Really appreciate that. But no, in all seriousness, guys, another good episode, more med knowledge. This is good stuff. You've been given plenty of resources to go look up on your own and delve more into some of those topics, which is always cool. If you're in the Chicagoland area, you should probably go find Archetype of the Gun. We just started a new business for him called Archetype of the Tourniquet because that's what we named the show. So he's going to have a new LLC within a week called Archetype of the Tourniquet, I'm sure. But, man, if you're in the Chicagoland area, find Erik. And if you're not in the Chicagoland area and you would like to see Erik, you should email
Erik, ERIK, at archetypeofthegun.com.
And you should host him because I'm really enjoying hosting people. And if you don't, I'll get in before you do. So get that shit done. Start supporting these guys, folks. I get asked all the time for other training resources at my other gun industry job, my training company. Oh, who else should we train with? Who else should we train with? Dude, I'm on episode 60. Check them out, right?
There's some heavy hitters in there, man.
That's what I'm saying. You're one of them. You're in great company here.
Thank you, sir.
We've had no bad trainers on the show. Like there's a reason for that. The reason is because we vet each other, and we all come recommended to each other by each other. And I would say that if you took a handgun class from Erik and you took one from me, 85 to 95% of that shit might be very similar with different words. Mm-hmm. And I'll bet if we push real hard, we could find something we disagree on.
Oh, probably.
I bet we could push hard enough and find something.
I mean, I am a huge fan of chocolate malts.
God damn it. Nothing but Milky Way over here. But my point being, of course, students would be that, God forbid you get some sources that disagree with each other and you do your own homework and you arrive at a conclusion. Maybe you'd be somewhere in the middle.
Making an educated decision based upon your experiences and your knowledge base. What?
Right. Exactly. So one of these days, I keep saying this and we keep adding dudes to this ever long list of people I need to get on the range with. And I do a damn better job than most, but not good enough in my estimation. I'll be on his range someday, and I'll be shutting my goddamn mouth and listening to his version of it. Yep. And in the back of the room with a yellow notepad going, stealing that, stealing that, stealing.
It's not theft if you give attribution.
That's what I'm saying, man. Absolutely. I'm running out of freaking – my class anymore sounds like a freaking infomercial for everybody else's class. It's really gotten to that point.
Yeah, but, so I give the disclaimer at the beginning of class. Yeah. I am a sum of the total of my experiences. I would not be where I am now if I wasn't standing on the shoulder of giants, man.
I'm getting to the point now where I start class, I do the med brief, competency brief discussion, do what I call the dad talk, which is the level of seriousness that I expect you to approach this with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then I go into like a 5-minute spiel on content for today's class came from sponsors such as, and I just freaking rattle off all the, like, listen, I may not remember it in the moment, but I assure you there is info that came from other people in this class. And that's how it should be.
Yeah. I always recommend people, listen, here's a copy of my bio if you want to read it. If not, it's on the website. This is how I got to where I am.
Yeah, exactly right. So all that being one long shameless plug for Archetype of the Gun, go train with them. Get out there on the range, improve your skill set. If you're the person that shows up with the gun in the box, right? I call this in my own curriculum, defanging the snake. They brought a cobra. They took it home. The cobra's been in its cage and nobody's let it out to play with it yet. And they're terrified of the cobra. And they come walking into the range with their hands shaking, going, I bought this, help, right? If you're that guy, go see Erik. If you're a little more proficient, you need tuned up, go see Erik. And if you want to do cheetah flips out of helicopters, maybe don't go see Erik. Is that about fair?
Sounds fair.
Cool, man. There it is. Archetype of the gun. Ladies and gentlemen, another great episode here on the Sling'N podcast. But we couldn't do things like what we do without our sponsors and our friends in the industry. And TJ is going to tell you all about them because I need a drink of water.
Absolutely. Erik, thanks again for coming on the show, man. It has always been a pleasure to have you, and we look forward to having you back in the near future. Kent, as always, my brother, it is another fantastic showdown. Here is to many more to come. So with that, folks, we appreciate you tuning into the show this week. If you're new here, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to us on YouTube. You can also find Kent and myself on Instagram, Facebook, and the various social media outlets. Parler is a new one, of course. I am the Lead Sling'N Ginger. Kent is at Green Mountain Defense. And, of course, Erik is at Archetype of the Gun. We do have several affiliate links, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show. You can visit those at greenmountaindefense.com/affiliate-links. Palmetto State Armory, Primary Arms, Gun Mag Warehouse, Brownells, you name it, it's probably there. All reputable affiliations that we have. If we didn't think that they were reputable, we wouldn't be partnered with them in any way, shape, or form. It's a great way to contribute to the show. There's no extra cost to you for in any way, shape, or form, but we do get a little bit of a kickback when you use those links, so it helps us do what we do and provide you, the hours of fun and enjoyment on a weekly basis. If you haven't yet, please tell your friends and family. Have them tune into the show. You can not only find us on YouTube, if you're against YouTube for whatever reason, you can also find us on your favorite podcast player, Apple Podcasts, Google, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, you name it, we're probably there. And by all means, we love an active chat, but if you don't get a chance to tune in live, you can always hit us up on our Facebook page, or you can email us at slingandleadpodcast@gmail.com. Kent and I are monitoring all of those methods of communication. We look forward to taking your questions and comments about the show. Of course, we want to mention Right On Optics. Kent and I are both pro staff members of Right On Optics. RightOnOptics.com for all of your shooting optics needs, binoculars, all that good stuff, red dots, low power variable optics, long range stuff, hunting stuff, you name it, they've got it. Go check them out. I've got them on several of my rifles, and it is a quality product. We did talk about medical. Of course, North American Rescue was mentioned, but we would be remiss if we didn't mention our friend Carrie Davis at Dark Angel Medical. DarkAngelMedical.com, code BB Bravo 15 at checkout will get you 15% off your order. We get nothing back for that, just showing Carrie that we love him, but we would appreciate if you would put in your order notes that the Sling and Lead podcast sent you. This way he knows that we're talking about him behind his back, like usual.
Just real quick with Carrie, all his shit's on sale way deeper than the 15% discount code right now.
That is right. It is. He does some pretty good discounts periodically throughout the year, but definitely around the holiday season is when he really hits it hard. So check out his website for more information on that. Once again, that's darkangelmedical.com. Of course, holdmyguns.org. We've had both Sarah and Genevieve on the show. It's another charitable organization that Kent and I both care very deeply about. Holdmyguns.org. or HMG.org on GoFundMe if you'd like to contribute. That's all we have time for this week, folks. We appreciate you tuning in. Until we see each other again, God bless you all. Take care of each other and get out and shoot.